I don't know. Look at the sheet you got right there. Who's camera 3? Are you camera 3? I think we have everybody.
Kathy's here. I'm
Consider This, a news and information program recorded on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. From the Fireside Lounge in the Milo Bale Student Center, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to the University of Nebraska at Omaha. There is a weighty subject facing the unicameral. One of our state senators, Senator Arnie Strethman, says our kids, too many of them are overweight, too many of them are obese, and I'm going to introduce a law to have a little more control, nutritional control, over school lunch programs and the food served in state schools. We'll talk about that and the whole issue of our kids and weight and food. This week on Consider This, I'm proud to have some really high-powered guests in the world of medicine and nutrition. Tammy Yarman is Director of Nutrition Services for the largest school district in the state, the Omaha Public Schools. Dr. Pat Doherty is an assistant professor at Creighton University, and his home hospital is Children's Hospital. He is also the state president of the chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. So I'm thinking he knows something about kids and health.
Hopefully.
And Nancy Bertolino is with Children's Hospital. She is a pediatric clinical dietitian. Thank you so much. We've been hearing so much about this issue to the point where you either really believe it and you're attacking it, or you think it's just, it can't be that bad. But we have this bill, and the senator is saying we need to push you in the schools a little more, because you do have our children 8, 9 waking hours of the day. You've done some things at OPS, have you not?
Yes, we have. As far as the food service area of the nutrition on campuses, we have gone the extra step. We're serving fresh vegetables and fruits to all of our children. We're doing the education that's necessary because we feel that children need to be taught to make the right choices. And as far as the vending machines go that pertain to the legislative bill in Nebraska, a lot of our schools do have our vending machines off from before breakfast through the end of the school day. And they have put out some healthy choices so that students can learn to make the right choice.
Now let's see, in this bill, the limitations on drinks alone are sort of interesting. There's no diet soda in there, but there is, milk, water, pure vegetable and fruit juices, and I think I've got it mostly covered, don't
Correct.
I? And some people think that, the young people might think that's unconstitutional. They may learn it's not unconstitutional. Dr. Doherty, how important is it that we do this, or is this just going too far?
No, I think there definitely has been a trend in this country. It's very evident of increased obesity in childhood, but it's also extending into adulthood. And we've seen the effects into adult life of the obesity starting in childhood. The American Academy of Pediatrics in particular over the last several years has really come out with a strong stance at addressing the obesity issue. And I think that the issue of vending machines in schools certainly has been at the forefront of that. Looking at making sure that there are healthy snacks, not pop in the pop machines, in the vending machines, because of the amount of calories that are in them. We also find that the kids will go to those vending machines if they're open during school hours and eat very unhealthy snacks instead of a healthy meal for lunch, which they really do need. So I think that it is a very important issue, and if we don't address it at this point, we will continue to see the problems for years into the future.
We're going to talk about some of those, because I think they are really serious, what is happening in terms of, even if you don't care about kids, which you should, that are going to be adults, you should care about the cost to probably your pocketbook when it comes to tax dollars, your insurance, whatever.
Sure.
Nancy, you don't deal directly with the kids in school, but you deal with kids who are in school. I mean, you do some advising to young people who are facing some of the problems head on. And as I understand, not only are you doing that, but there's an increased demand at Children's Hospital for their programs that involve this.
Right, we do see a lot of patients on an outpatient basis. Their doctors are becoming more aware of it, obviously, and we're getting more and more referrals for kids with weight problems. Many of those have other issues with blood pressure, blood sugars, cholesterol, other health factors involved, not just the weight issue.
I know that in the bill it points out that the federal government, and you would be more familiar with this, is already, if you're involved in the federal school lunch program, they're setting up some deadlines of their own as to how you must operate, correct, Tammy?
Correct. By August 1 of 2006, we have to have a wellness policy, a district wellness policy in place, which covers vending machines, recess, physical activity, school lunch program, and have a plan in place how we're going to implement it and measure it also. And fortunately, this is where we feel really good, is that we have gone that direction. We've got the committee in place. We're looking at where we want to go. What we've done in the school lunch program is halfway there. And you know, with the vending machines, and the principals have formed committees in their buildings to offer healthy choices. So we're real comfortable.
I've often sensed among parents and even some over the years, and back a bit, not way back in the Stone Age when I was a kid, but back a bit, that those that are in charge of the food services at schools, and even parents to some degree, have this feeling that the government shouldn't get involved in this. It's the school, it's our decision, but also, we want our kids to be happy. We want them, not to be sneaking in food. We want them school to be a good experience, and food is so much a part of our lives. It's part of my life, a big part. That sort of has to do, if they like the food, they'll like school.
That's exactly right.
Is that the
I'd
thought?
agree. I think that food is an essential part of your life. You have to have it in order to survive. Certainly, I think that their choices have expanded so much in this country that to pick out the healthy types of food for you has become more difficult, especially when it comes for fast food and looking at foods that are very high in fats. They're the ones that do satisfy you. They're the ones that do taste good. And so if they're readily available, that's more than likely what a child is going to pick.
Nancy, what happens when I know, and I told you on the phone that I had lost some weight over the last couple of years, and because I knew I needed to. For the first time in my life, my blood pressure was moving up just a tad. I didn't like that trend. And so I just filled my refrigerator with things that I had to make or have ready. And I found that I actually liked some of those healthy things more. So what I'm saying is, children, can they develop a taste for the good stuff?
Say some of what we see and talking to parents of younger children is that you have to introduce new foods 10 and 12 times sometimes before a child will maybe decide they like it at some point, but not to force the issue, just not make a big deal out of it, just keep repeatedly offering that and act as a role model for kids, that we teach our children how to eat healthy or unhealthy.
So introducing those foods into your...
I was just thinking when she was talking about that.
Except Nancy and I decided canned lima beans, hardly anyone ever likes, no matter how many times you introduce it.
Some years ago we started introducing a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits in the elementary schools. And our middle school managers, cafeteria managers, noticed an increase of fresh fruits and vegetables when those children moved into the middle school. So it truly supports what Nancy said, that it is indeed needs to start at an early age with the education process to move up. And for example, several months ago we introduced Brussels sprouts into our elementary schools to get them to try it, because a lot of students, number one, school food is why they come to school, because that's all they get all day long. And number two, generally, if they're on limited income, fresh fruits and vegetables are very expensive and they can't afford it. And so by introducing, like we're doing grapefruit this month, we've done Brussels sprouts, we're doing mangoes. That way at least children can see what's out there.
Isn't that more expensive than for the school district? I
Yes,
mean,
it is.
things are tight. Things are tight all around for school districts.
Yes, it is. It's more expensive to, put fresh fruits and vegetables on the menus, but you have to weigh the options. What are we trying to do? We're in the business of educating children. And you have to manage your budget much like a restaurant, because that's exactly what we are. We're cash-based. We bring in and we spend out. It's
And the
not
freshness factor,
Yes.
you know, there is a finite
That's right.
life on these things.
because if a student doesn't eat there, we don't get the income for them. So we have to market it in such a way that they want to eat with us.
Well, you know, I don't know if you saw the documentary
Super Size
Super
Me.
Size Me. How could I forget it? That was the documentary that was out this year, was nominated for a couple of awards. It's very interesting, and about how what we think will satisfy us. You know, that hamburger, and I love hamburgers, but we think that only we limit, and I think children do too, the things that will satisfy them, that will give them a little pep, a little energy. Do you find that in counseling and talking to young people?
I'd say some of what we ask our parents to do prior to their visit with us is to keep food records, to actually write things down and the amounts that the kids eat. And sometimes that's not rocket science. What I do is to look at those, just the act of logging what they eat, and then I will ask parents, you know, do you see anything, areas here that you might be able to make some improvements on? And the parents will sometimes comment that, you know, they're not really aware of what the kids are doing or what they're doing as a family, but the act of documenting it and writing it down is a point, you know, to start from.
You know, the American Academy of Pediatrics has been in the forefront of a number of issues, including the weight problem and the increasing number. I mean, the statistics, doctor, are really alarming. Maybe we're all in denial.
I would totally agree with that. I think that we have definitely seen probably an increase at least 50% in the body mass index of our children. And that's one of the things that we're really focusing on now. We used to just look at height and weight, and now we're looking at more of the body mass index to give us a better idea of how much of a problem that it actually is. I think that the Academy is really focused on looking at this and addressing it early on so that we can continue to prevent some of these problems that are developing, including increased incidence of diabetes, type 2 diabetes, but also now we are certainly seeing some of the research coming out that adult onsets of certain types of cancers are directly related to being obese. And if we can address this early on in childhood and prevent the adult obesity even, we will probably see a decrease in those types of cancers. So
We're talking about food here, but you mentioned the wellness aspect that the federal government wants, and it's a holistic approach to. I remember when I was a kid, and I'm older than you are, and a little older than you, that when your mom and dad said, "Go out and play," which was my mom's only break, you went out and played. We only had 3 TV stations, and it wasn't very exciting a lot of the time. The children are not exercising. And that's kind of hand in hand with the food too. The body needs the right kind of fuels, and sometimes when you're not active, your body isn't telling you right what it needs.
I think we're definitely seeing that. The American Academy of Pediatrics has come out with a statement of no more than 2 hours of TV time a day, and really TV time includes screen time, including computers and Game Boys and game PlayStations and everything else.
As my husband calls it, box time.
We're seeing that the average hours that children are spending in front of a tube is about 5 hours a day. That sitting and being immobile for that long of a period of time is definitely taking the place of exercise. So, we know that the only true weight loss program is one that will decrease your intake but also increase your output. And in order to sustain that weight loss, you have to continue on a daily exercise program, or else you will gain the weight back. So,
Some of what, commenting on the amount of television time, it's not just, the actual sedentary activity itself, but just the commercials that are directed at kids and what they're, promoting, the fast food and the marketing money that they have.
Kraft this week came out and said that they're no longer going to push on television Oreos and a couple of their other snack foods for children under 12. Now, they had previously done it for children under 6. That's a leap. Is it not? I mean, for them as a marketer, that they're in a business.
Say that, and some of the choices now that they're offering on the kids' meals, where they can get, the oranges or milk instead of the soft drink, that's kind of a leap. And I remember being surveyed about that when my daughter was an infant or, young child, probably about 10 years ago. So it's taken them 10 years from the surveying would you as a parent choose fruits and vegetables or milk? 10 years to get there.
The interesting thing is that if, what did they say, if you build it, they will come. If you build the right menus and if people pressure you, they're only acting out of research and pressure. And if more, I'm not crazy about just a couple of salads they have at McDonald's, but sometimes you have to go because you're with some friends or something. So I'll eat the salad, but if there were more choices, I would go to McDonald's more often. So maybe the pressure just needs to be stepped up, not just by the academy, not just by the school nutritionists or the hospital nutritionists, but by us, moms and dads.
I think that's very true. I think that kids learn from example, and certainly the parents lead in teaching the kids and teaching them what they expect from them and what foods they should eat and making those right choices. So I think it really does start with the parents making choices like that, and if they did have more of a variety at different fast food restaurants and those kind of things to choose from. Unfortunately, I think that they're all in the business of making a profit and money, and so they're going to present whatever makes them the most money. So until those kind of choices catch on, you may see them limited initially. So,
although if you buy lettuce in bulk, I'm sure you'll get a break on the price. Maybe it's not as cheap as those reconstituted French fries or whatever they are. And I'm not dissing them per se, but I do know that fast food is a part of a fast life that we lead. When you've got kids in soccer and ballet and karate, and you're taking the boy there and the girl there and the middle schooler there and the high schooler there, fast food or the ability to eat on the run, you can't pack your whole day's worth of food in the morning unless you can put 3 more hours in the day. So really maybe that is part of the answer, is to pressure these fast food places.
See, some of what I work with parents on too is to, doing more meal preparation at home, or just to think smart about this. If you're browning some ground meat to make tacos tonight, maybe do twice as much as you really need and stick some in the freezer and use that to make sloppy joes next week, to just have a plan.
I've sort of done that because I hate to cook. If you're going to dirty the pan once,
plan leftovers
right.
is one of my philosophies.
And the thing is, I learned to cook from my mother. I'm not the greatest cook, she was a very good cook, but I can still do all the basic stuff. I can make a good white sauce and all that. And I think that the kids aren't learning how to cook.
I think the statistic now is that people want meal preparation to be 20 minutes.
That's why you see the cookbooks geared to that. But even then, they just don't. Cooking isn't a part of their confidence level. I like to do that. That was kind of fun. I remember when me and Mom used to do that, and even making Christmas cookies, which I know are not low calorie, but those, those kinds of memories that come with preparing food as part of healthy living.
Well, and even still, making the proper choices doesn't mean that you can never have another French fry again. It means balancing out.
I'd go off the Missouri River Bridge if that were the truth.
It means balancing out what you have so that you can have a can of pop or French fries, and to watch the portion sizes. A lot of times in school lunch we get complaints because our portion sizes are considered small. Well, that's because they're comparing them to the supersized portions in McDonald's and Burger King. And in reality, our portion sizes are exactly what they should be as prescribed by the federal government.
Well, and then you could eat those vegetables too, and then they fill you up.
Yes.
When the meat, thought the meat was kind of wimpy.
That's right.
You can eat the vegetables
but they're green, so.
Green is good.
Yeah.
You were telling me that, was it your daughter who came in one day and said somebody's mom said bread is bad?
I was at the dinner table with my daughter, who was maybe middle school age at that point, and we were eating our evening meal, and she said, Mom, what's bad about bread? And so this was a teachable moment, and as a dietitian and a young child, and just why would you ask that question? Well, Jessie said her mom told her bread is bad, so that was the impact of a mother who was dieting, or perhaps on a low carbohydrate diet, influencing her daughter, and that's one of the things that I tried to share with her. Now, you've seen the food guide pyramid in school. Most grade school children learn about the pyramid, and what's on the bottom of the pyramid? Well, the breads and the cereals and things. Okay, and we talked about what the pyramid meant, and how that graphic depiction means you're supposed to eat more of those things on the bottom, but just went to show me how much of an influence that parents and mothers in particular have on daughters, and especially in terms of dieting and food choices.
Well, we have a new food pyramid. as of this week. And it does emphasize fruits and vegetables, and I guess more whole grains or, you know, the better part of the grain as opposed to getting rid of the good part. Is this good?
Well, I think that's all based off of research, and that's what they've been looking at for years in coming out with the new pyramid.
The pyramid is one of the more politically charged items, is what's going to be on that pyramid because of competing. Well, we have cattle producers, we have hog producers, we have people that have invested their entire lives in producing some sort of foodstuff. Is the food pyramid improved? Is it maybe more educational than it was? Or?
I think the biggest change is the amount of fruits and vegetables that they're actually recommending. And we've known for years that fruits and vegetables are probably healthier for you than eating high fat and high protein type of foods. But then you have the Atkins diet has come out, and several of the other diets that have come out that have actually pushed people to believe the other way. So I think in the long run, I think we all know that a balanced diet is actually what's really been shown to be the most effective diet. And not ruling out the breads or grains or anything particular from the diet, I think is what's been shown that your body needs all of those things in order to remain healthy. So.
Well, I'm sure that they're teaching more in school now than what it took me, an adult, to be, was that food is fuel, and there are different kinds of fuel that are needed for different activities. And certainly, in getting back to the school, you know, we want our children to learn, and there are plenty of facts that if they don't eat, or if they eat, you know, all of one type of thing that is maybe the starches, the sugars, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not feeding, you know, their brain power or their ability to process and remember information. Am I right?
Correct. Correct. It is very important for them to start out their day with breakfast. You know, that's the very first meal that gets them ready for the day. And they need to eat a balanced meal so that it's not all not
How about
heavy.
that Sunny Delight? I need a lot of that Sunny Delight. Boy, that's sugar.
Yeah, 100% is the best way to go. 100% juice is the best way to go. That's not to say there's not calories in there, but it's not the fake calories, you know, from the fake sugars. And so it is important that they have a well-balanced meal, so that way it feeds everything in their body, so they are ready to learn and play and socialize with their friends.
We do need a little carbohydrate to get our engine going. We need protein, and I think that's good for certain parts of the body, including up here. So, I mean, when I started thinking of food as fuel and fun, you know, that you can mix those two things, I did a lot better. So what's the future of this subject? Is the government going to have to reach in and do more, or are we going to, you know, as parents and as the adults of the world who don't want the next generation of adults to be physically challenged seriously, what do we do? I know there is no
right
magic
answer.
bullet. I know.
I think we're going in the right direction. I think it's bringing it out, you know, to people that there is an issue and there are problems, and that we all need to work together. It's got to be a community of people that assists with this, not just the schools or the doctors or the dietitians. You know, the family has to be there too. And this is a great way to bring it out in front of people that, hey, we've got an issue, let's all get together and try and solve it.
You know, Dr. Phil, I mean, if you don't know who Dr. Phil is, then I think you've been living in a cave. But, you know, he did an NBC special some time ago about these families that had, you know, these weight problems, and he kind of slaps them around. I mean, not physically, but, you know, his style of, you know, his no-nonsense approach. And but I think that did make, you know, those kinds of things make people aware that this is serious stuff. It was, yes, entertaining, but it was serious stuff. Do we just need to get more serious so that our children don't, you know, I think sometimes the overweight kids today and the obese kids, you know that's hell on earth to be obese and a young person. But they sometimes feel they're going it alone, and that it's impossible, that no one else is facing those problems. If we were all paying better attention, maybe we'd all feel that we're part of the same, in the same war.
And a lot of what we work with sometimes is not necessarily to focus just on weight, and a lot of the kids will come in with unrealistic expectations. I need to lose 50 pounds.
Yesterday.
And it's more about a healthy weight for a lot of those kids, that, you know, you're never going to be petite and look like the magazines depict and what the TV shows depict as, you know, popular, you know, perfect weight and size. So just a healthy weight.
I think Bridget Jones has done something for that. If you're familiar with now it's Bridget Jones too. It started as Bridget Jones' Diary, and she had what she called her wiggly parts. She was not a slender character. In fact, I believe she put the main Renee Zellweger put on quite a bit of weight, as appeared to me when I saw the second one. And she gets the good-looking guy. In fact, she could have had maybe two. So in a way, I was thrilled to see that.
I think that, it's true to continue education on nutrition as part of this, and not just looking at legislation to limit some of the vending machines and those kind of things in the school. The other part of it is, if you do limit the vending machines in schools, those schools depend on that money that they get from it for other activities.
Oftentimes it subsidizes athletics or the music program, and
so there's got to be that money's going to come in from someplace else, and so this may be costly to us in order to improve our nutrition in this country. If we're looking at eating more fruits and vegetables, which do cost more, in the long run it's going to save us money, but up front you're going to see an initial expense to do this.
do we have to be sort of scared straight, as the old expression said, in terms of maybe letting some parents know what getting diabetes 20 years ahead of what maybe they would have, and what it's going to physically do to them? I mean, this is serious stuff.
We do see some parents in denial that Johnny's just a big boy.
Big boned.
He's big boned, and his blood sugar's elevated, his cholesterol's high, and it's a problem. So just moving them one step closer to making that change and awareness that it is a problem is sometimes all I can do in a first visit. I feel successful if I can move them one step closer to the change they need to make. It is a problem.
Nancy reminded me of the predictions that this next generation may be the first that doesn't exceed the preceding generation in terms of longevity. Okay, we've got about a minute and a half left. If you could do one thing to change, I always ask this question, to change what was happening and you thought it would actually work, if you could, had one wish, what would you do?
I think to give children the opportunity to try new foods, regardless if there was all the money in the world that a family could have, to give them the opportunity to try different foods and be able to go out there and not have to worry about what they're spending their money on.
Okay, more choices. What about you, Dr. Doherty?
I think more education. I think that really letting everybody understand that even though they feel healthy up front, and it may not be healthy in the long run.
Cannot ever have enough of that, and quickly.
Kind of along the lines of what Dr. Doherty mentioned, is just empower them with the knowledge of what the foods provide for them in terms of nutrients and just knowledge.
I think that's a winner, and that's what all of this is about that you were talking about. I want to thank you. Half an hour goes really fast. We're not going to solve this problem, but maybe we'll pay a little more attention. Tammy Yarman, Dr. Doherty, and Nancy Bertolino, thank you so much. And stop at the Children's Hospital website, which you've seen on the show, or check ours out and get more information. Thanks for joining us.
To view this edition of Consider This or past programs, visit our website at unotv.unomaha.edu. For comments or questions, call 402-554-2516 during regular business hours. Consider This is a production of UNO Television.